sign regulations violate our freedom of speech. I didn't go looking for this battle. I don't really think I'm an activist. Then I would have been guilty as charged, case closed. I can appreciate what attorneys got to go through. So ACLU, forget them. He's the only candidate that was speaking the truth. Ron Paul got some coverage and some publicity. In all my years of voting, I've never put up a sign. Most city ordinances are a violation of our U.S. Constitution.
Are you looking for the truth or for another fight? If you want to give it, what I want to give it up tonight. Freedom, ain't looking for the fight. If you want to give it, what I want to give it up tonight. Are you looking for the truth or for another fight? If you want to give it, what I want to give it up tonight. Freedom, ain't looking for the fight. If you want to give it, what I want to give it up tonight.
Yeah, that's a good question. This is our U.S. Constitution. First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Our Illinois Constitution, Article 1, Bill of Rights, Section 4, freedom of speech. All persons may speak, write, and publish freely, being responsible for the abuse of that liberty. In trials for libel, both civil and criminal, the truth, when published with good motives and for justifiable ends, shall be a sufficient defense. That liberty that we have is an abuse when we don't use it. So if you've got something important that needs to be spoken, then you'd be irresponsible not to say it. Okay, the Ron Paul Revolution, where did that start from? In all my years of voting, I've never put up a sign. Never have. I just believed I never would because I was never excited about any of them. I was very apathetic at politics, period. You know, voting, I'm 49 years old now. Voting all those years, I pretty much didn't even pay attention to who I was voting for. And that all changed though whenever I saw Ron Paul on the very first Republican debate, and called my son Zachary up, and I said, "Hey Zach, have you heard this Ron Paul? He was just on the Republican debate, and you know he's talking about some serious stuff here that the rest of the candidates won't talk about." And he says, "Dad, that's the guy I was telling you about 2 months ago." I knew nothing about any city code on signs on private property. We had a meetup meeting for the Ron Paul campaign, and one of the TV stations had called for an interview, and to interview the group. They took pictures of signs in at the place where we met at. The last question that was asked by Sarah Wojcicki on Channel 20 Evening News was if she knew that we had violated sign ordinances, and that was one of the spins on the particular segment that we were willing to get Ron Paul's name out, even if it meant breaking the law. Well, what happened? That was on a Thursday that we had the interview with Channel 20. Friday morning, we get this article on the Ron Paul signs in the State Journal Register. And after that, Saturday morning, I wake up, check my mail, and I get my first notice. So they evidently knew that this notice was coming before we did, and they wanted to make sure that this made the news. And this particular citation says that my signs exceed the total square footage allowed, which is 12 square foot according to the city code, as well as a banner. That was first notice. Second notice was after I didn't call them. It requires me to call them within 10 days. And my feeling was there's no need for me to call them because they have no business telling me what to do with a sign on my property. So then what I proceeded to receive was a hearing before a code hearing officer in the city of Springfield. Well, I didn't plead anything at that point. I hadn't talked to them. When they called my name up, I asked them if this was being recorded, if it was on the public record, and they said no. I said, well, then I will wait for the hearing then, and declined a negotiation with them. So I asked the hearing officer under what authority did they have to hear this code violation. I motioned for an extension, and the hearing officer asked the city attorney if she agreed to that, and she said certainly, why not, and gained some time on that. In the meantime, I got a hold of the ACLU. Now, I don't agree with the ACLU or what they stand for or what they do. They said they were very interested in what's going on with the signed ordinances in Springfield. So I wrote them, let them know what was going on. They responded back to me and said that at this time that they would not be able to represent me in this particular case. So ACLU, forget them. They're not going to help you unless they can make some money off the deal. So then I returned to court. The judge gave me about 3 weeks to provide him a 5-page case law summary of Supreme Court decisions, which I did. And let me tell you folks, that's a lot of work. I can appreciate what attorneys got to go through. So I provided the hearing officer with a 5-page summary case law, and it has all the different court cases, Ladue versus Galeo. There's several. Every state's had the same war with city ordinances. So what happened then is that when I first stepped up to the podium, he just flat out said, well, we made a decision. So I was guilty as charged for violating a city ordinance, and the fine was $250 plus court fees. It could have been a maximum of $750 plus $300 court fees, something like that. At that point in time, I motioned for compliance with the 35 days to remove the signs and the dismissal of the fees, and the city attorneys accepted. And so I felt at that point in time, at least there wasn't any money out of my pocket. Ron Paul got some coverage and some publicity through the primaries, as well as 35 days after. He's the only candidate that was speaking the truth. He was the only candidate telling us what was going on with the war, what was going on with our economy, what was going on with our border situation. Of course, later on came the economic situation that he brought out. The media really censored Ron Paul's messages. You know, our intention was to peaceably promote Ron Paul. All persons may speak, write, and publish freely, being responsible for the abuse of that liberty. So now the city is saying that we're going to help you not have to be responsible. What they're really doing is they're limiting the public in their speech. Today was the agreement that I settled with the city, or that was actually told me that I had 35 days to take my signs down. Our rights and our liberties and freedoms, our constitutional rights, our freedoms of speech rights, freedom of religion, all those things are things that we need to continue to fight for. But all that's going to take money. Not my intent to be an activist or pursue some type of revolution or push some type of an agenda, but to just get Ron Paul's name out to those who probably hadn't heard of him. Most city ordinances are a violation of our U.S. Constitution.